Hello, everybody. Welcome to Justice Served Daily. I hope everybody is good out there. I know it has been a while. I did want to, I've been working on a show that I posted for you guys that is coming up, and a lot of research and stuff inside of that one. And with that, then suddenly we had this breaking news and information that came out, and connected it to somebody who had been arrested in Indiana before, who was connected to this. So I think you guys are going to be interested in this, and then interested in that I was able to go and get the federal court documents and court documents, everything with that, and to show you what I found, which will be quite interesting. So hello, Mama Bear, Kevin Kraft. Hello, how you guys doing? Let me go over here and make sure I've got this right. No, I don't like that one. What about... I don't want this to be in the way. Hopefully it's not when I show it, but we'll take a look at it. And I will try to keep an eye on conversation as well. And as you know, when I go in here, sometimes when I'm looking or going through the documents and stuff with you, that's kind of hard for me to see everybody, but I will try to keep an eye on that as well and watch what's going on. So let me go in here. Going on. So let me... I got myself talking. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. There we go. All right. So I know there has been so much going on in the news all over the place that it is very easy to miss information and news that is coming out from all over the place. And this one I definitely wanted to share with you. So this is about the FBI. Kash Patel, who is our FBI director, announced the Operation Grayskull that took down 4 Darkweb child abuse sites that is dedicated to the sexual abuse of children. There were 19 arrested in the United States, plus other arrests that happened in other countries. And one of the people who was arrested for this was a Fort Wayne, Indiana man who was a manager of the site, which, you know, from everything that I have shared about things going on in Indiana and how we've had a international child ring internet, everything that was in the state before that was busted, that was global, and the suspicion of this all happening all over again and stuff that I told about with you guys. And if you have not watched that video, it's a very early video that I did, like one of my first a few years back, and it goes through that and the arrests that happened and some arrests of some people that didn't, that was actually operating the website itself. And this gentleman who was arrested in Fort Wayne also happens to be a person who was busted for this too. So I'm going to show you guys the actual announcement first. Let me know if you have any trouble hearing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kash Patel, Director of the FBI. I'm excited to announce the results of a global operation to take down 4 of the biggest child sexual abuse sites on the dark web and bring the criminals who operated them to justice. As a result of Operation Grayskull, the FBI arrested 19 subjects here in the United States, and working with our international partners, helped coordinate additional arrests in 7 more countries. Shockingly, many of these perpetrators had no prior criminal records. They were people we knew and trusted, neighbors, colleagues, even family members. They were active in our communities and around our children. This is why we must stay vigilant. Investigations like this are thorough and resource intensive. They often take years due to the complexity of tracking perpetrators on the dark web. Specialized teams like the FBI's Child Exploitation Operational Unit work tirelessly to find those who harm our children and put them behind bars. Through global partnerships and dedicated resources, the FBI works to ensure that all children have the chance to grow up safe and free from exploitation. Rest assured, we will keep hunting these criminals no matter where they are. Thank you for keeping our children safe.
So as you'll hear, when they talk about the arrest, there's 19 arrests so far to date. Those 19 are only the arrest in the United States. That does not count the arrests that are in other countries. So my deep dive that I did is on the Indiana man who was arrested and the court papers for that. Although I'm going to show you the names that they did show us of other people who were arrested, where they were from, and the people that they're showing and demonstrating and stuff to us in this document you'll see is specifically going to talk about what they were convicted for. So this is the actual press release that came out from the FBI that corresponds with that. So you can see the release date on this was July 23rd of 2025. So as it talked about, this was 4, which is amazing, dark web sites that were dedicated to images and videos containing child sexual abuse material, so CSAM. And as it said, it has 18, it's actually 19 offenders, including a Minnesota man that was the most recent that had been charged with this. So when he talks about the operation, he mentions that most, and this is amazing, most of the people that were arrested for this are not people who have been, that have a record of being arrested before, anything like that. So it is amazing that they took that many down at that time. And, what they were doing was, and you'll see that most of the charges are, they were, this isn't just like the people who had CSAM and that's it. These were people running the site. These were people selling CSAM. This was people putting people in different positions that were running the website, that were advertising the website. And it's amazing of what information that we have so far. So when they talk about this, they talk about that the people that they arrested, and this guy, for instance, from Minnesota, was from 2002. And he advertised and distributed CSAM over the website, including depicting prepubescent children, and eventually worked his way up to a staff position on the website. which among things involved monitoring it, enforcing the site's rules for posting CSAM, and advertising the site's users about how to post the CSAM. So in addition to the guy from Minnesota, you'll see here that we have the first guy is out of Bonton Beach, Florida. Forgive me for if I mispronounce this wrong. Most all of the charges are basically the same, but most all of these are pled guilty. They got him to plead guilty. So to conspiracy to advertise child pornography, 5 counts of advertisement of child pornography and possession of child pornography. I just need to emphasize to everybody, this is federal charges. This is not, you know, a local state charge happening to these people. This is the FBI after them. And then under each one of their names, as you can, I don't know if you can see the mouse or not, under the name of the person next to it, it shows their residence and then what their sentence was after what they were charged for. So he was found in 2022, like our Minnesota guy, and he got 28 years in prison. Now, these guys were high up on that ranking that they found. So that's also why you have the high up on there, even though, you know, he pled guilty. So then, and that'll mean something in a minute when I get to our Indiana guy. So then we've got Matthew Gorell. He was from Raleigh, North Carolina. He pled guilty, again, advertising child pornography and conspiracy to distribute. He was sentenced on August 1st of 2023. Then we have Robert Preston. He was out of Clarksville, Tennessee. He also pled guilty to advertising the child pornography and conspiracy to distribute. He was sentenced in August 15th of 2023. He got 23 years. Then we have Gregory Good of Silver Springs, Nevada. He pled guilty as well. He got 25 years, and he was convicted in 2023. We've got William Spearman. He is out of Madison, Alabama. He pled guilty to engaging in child exploitation enterprise. This was a conviction that happened January 23rd of 2024. Also, we have Joseph Martin. He's out of Washington. He pled guilty to engaging in a sexual exploitation enterprise. April 18th of 2024, he was sentenced to 42 years. Then we've got Joseph Stewart. He's out of Milton, Washington. Conspiracy to advertise child pornography and conspiracy to distribute the child pornography. He was sentenced in 23 years. As you can see, there's also restitution these people have to pay as well. Then we've got Keith McIntosh from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He pled guilty. Again, it's for the advertisement of the child pornography and conspiracy to distribute it, both as a person with a prior conviction for possession of child pornography. So here we have somebody who's actually had this before, and he was sentenced to 55 years in 2024. So these website leaders advertised and distributed CSAM and basically ran the rules of the website and enforced the rules by banning or scolding users who violated any rules for the website. They held staff meetings. They recruited members to serve as staff members. They recommended users for promotion. They edited and deleted user posts. They would praise individuals for their participation in and contributing to the website. And they kept records of CSAM posts made by individual members. and paid for and maintained the website servers, among, other things that they would do with this, right? So here we go to the next one. In Operation Grayskull, it resulted in the dissemination of a total of 4 sites. So all this is being distributed between 4 different sites. Now, the FBI have not named officially like what those are, what those called, or whatever. But some of the most egregious on the dark web, and they included sections specifically dedicated to infants and toddlers, as well as depictions of violence, sadism, and torture. And the websites also contain detailed advice on how to avoid detection by law enforcement. So they shared about the technology. So one of the things I want to bring up that you guys may have known and watched as I share in the community post on the Justice Served Daily community post, I highlight to you the worst of the worst who have been arrested for sharing CSAM and being caught with CSAM. And although it's usually have been a low percentage of CSAM involves infants, toddlers, and that type of thing, I have shown you the trend of many, many men in Indiana who have all been busted, basically from the time of Keegan Kline up until now that I have continued to track, that including Keegan Kline, specifically Emily Ann, was talking to and was sharing images, if you recall, it was in the court documents, of a 3-year-old. Now, that was addressed with Keegan Kline and all that type of thing, but other people who have been arrested after that point have also had the this level of infants and toddlers. And even though that's normally a lower percentage, most of the guys who have all been arrested and stuff from that point forward many of them have all had this in the information in their court documents. So this list below that I'm showing you shows that in other judicial districts around the country, 9 additional individuals have been convicted for their involvement with these websites. So we've got Charles Hand, he's out of Maryland. Michael Ibarra, he's out of Washington. Clay Trimble, he's out of Arkansas. David Craig, he's out of Texas. Robert Rella, he's out of Virginia. Samuel Hicks, out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Richard Smith, out of Dallas, Texas. Patrick Harrison, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thomas Goliath of Weber Falls, Oklahoma. So these go and they just kind of talk about their prison sentence and everything like that, and what they were charged and stuff in there. Now, the guy from Oklahoma, he shows that he is pending. So all the rest of these have been in there. So let's move forward. In this information, they also shared that there were 2 other individuals in the United States who died before being charged for their involvement with the websites. So the information on the other perpetrators in here, because this just got released and confirmed, that a guy we already knew had been arrested. I've shared this guy, Samuel Hicks, with you guys before because he was a federal charge. He was federally charged out of the Northern District of Indiana. And when that information came out, I share that with you guys. Well, the new connection is that it's because he is now listed of one of these, basically 19 people charged in the dark web. So we have somebody who was managing as a manager for the dark web, arrested out of Fort Wayne with that's in there. Now, the other thing that this shares with everybody, and just like Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, shared in the announcement that I played for you guys at the beginning, is that the operation also resulted in arrest in the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Estonia, Belgium, and South Africa. So absolutely amazing to think of the 19 and then think of that one of these dark web people managing a site was arrested here in Indiana that has now been made public. So this, I will show you something that I find interesting, is that when at the bottom of this last paragraph, it mentions all the people who helped with this assistance in this case, and who they're giving some information and stuff to about everybody. And you see that each office is listed here of corresponding with each person who was arrested, except for that Indiana's not listed. So I find that interesting, and I'll tell you guys why and stuff in a minute. So all right, so Samuel Hicks, 33, out of Fort Wayne. So I went in to the federal documents and was able to pull up his information, find him. And when you go into the site, and I hope I have this. Did I list this wrong? Yeah, I did. Not numerically right, but when you go into the site, basically what happens is you see your person that you have. So you have USA versus Hicks. And then as you go down farther, you'll see each description of each item that's here. And you have to go over and then click on that document. And then basically, after you go and you click on this document, it opens up and it gives you multiple pages of whatever that filing is, and everything that's being entered, just like when I show you guys stuff for my case and stuff like that for Delphi, right? So you go through here and you have to click on it, and then to get access to those pages, to get them and to print them and stuff like that, you I had to pay per sheet of each of the documents and stuff that's per download. And then to be in here, which you could tell that case is long. So I want to just show again, and or maybe for the first time, this was when the date of filing is. I'm going to show you the actual indictment as well. But the filing of this against Samuel Hicks was done in December 21st of 2002. So this guy is found and charged in December 21st of 22 when they find him. Now, I'm going to share something. Don't forget that I'm going to use the word that's also used quite a bit with stuff about a lot of cases, that a lot of people will just use this phrase, and I'm going to use it to describe this. And I'm going to say the word coincidence. So anybody following Delphi. And again, anybody who watches my channel knows I have tracked all of these pedophile arrests, whether charged in the state of Indiana or from Indiana that were federal, or anybody that I found that was charged with something but they had a victim in Indiana. I was keeping track of that. Well, here's the coincidence I want to share with all of you. What was happening in 2022? Well, in 2022, we had some arrests that were happening, continued to happen, I should phrase it. And it was when we had arrest of Logan Lorman out of Delphi, others out of Delphi that you've seen me do the case on. But the other thing that we had in 2022 was when Keegan Kline decided that he wanted to cooperate with the police. Now, if you remember, I have said a million times that there should have been federal charges that should have happened against the person using Emily Ann, because it was going back and forth to somebody over the internet, which is a federal charge. It had the same thing that this is accusing these people of having, of when Emily Ann was talking to another user, remember, and talking about a 3-year-old child that they confronted Keegan Kline about. Well, Keegan Kline went in August of 2022 and he spoke to the police, right? He had the Indiana State Police and that out there. And we know what he was talking about because he was talking about to them about the water search and everything that stemmed from all of that. However, that's what we know about from the Delphi standpoint. And remember, the water search took place until September. Then it was discovered about Richard Allen. And then October 13th of 2022, they questioned Richard Allen. Then in October 31st of 26th, they arrest him. The 31st, we get the announcement. The end of December of 2022, Keegan Kline never went for the plea deal, but he did have 5 of the charges dropped locally that he had of 30 of, right? So he had 30. So his stuff happened in there. We also know that Lorman's charges, he walked. He did not have anything, and his final happened in beginning January 23, after they closed that. So I'm just saying, what a coincidence that during all of this time, while all of this stuff and arrests are happening to all these people in Delphi, an interesting fact that this all happened. So let me go through here, and I'm going to start showing you this document. This was the announcement that we had and that I shared about this arrest back in November of 24. So it talks about his sentencing and everything. Now, the other thing I've also shared with you guys is that federal cases take forever. And the federal case for this guy, remember, I just showed you, it was filed. We'll go back up. He was filed with this indictment on December 21st of 22. But yet he's not charged or finally sentenced. And this is after he decides to take a plea, which I'll show you all that information. he's not charged and stuff or sentenced here till November of 2024 on this document that came out. So this is the Northern District of Indiana. So according to the document in the case, between January and March of 2022, which means when they were watching him, Hicks posted images of videos of child sexual abuse material on a dark website which facilitated the advertisement and distribution of child sexual abuse material. So it talks about it filing in Allen County, and it was a very short info. There's not much info and stuff out there about it other than what his sentence was. So here is the indictment that I got from the federal site. Now, I want to let you know before I forget to mention this, that list of all those documents that I showed you that you can click on and view and or download if you have an account and stuff with that and be able to get them, and you got to pay for each. I will tell you this, first of all, I didn't print every single one of those, because some of those are like, you can go from as few as only 2 pages to 20, 30, whatever pages that are filed for each one of those, and paying of those each pages can get up there for me. So I try to watch of this. But so on this indictment, again, I show you at the top, this was filed on December 21st of 2022. And it says that from, on, or about January 22 through and including about March of 22, that Samuel Hicks did conspire and agree with others, known and unknown. And then so this is, I have to say this is redacted. The grand jury to knowingly make and print and publish and cause to be made and printed and published a notice and advertisement seeking and offering to receive and exchange and buy and produce and display and distribute and reproduce a visual depiction of the production of which involved the use of a minor engaging in sexual explicit conduct, in which depiction was of such conduct and defendant knew and had reasons to know that such notice and advertisement would be transported using any means and facility of interstate and foreign commerce and affecting interstate and foreign commerce by any means, including by computer and mailed, and such notice and advertisement was transported using any means and facility of interstate and foreign commerce and in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce by any means, including by computer and mailed. So anybody trading and going off and back and forth with this is why it makes it a federal charge. So these are just each counts. Basically, they're the same. So that one was for showing for count 1. And again, this is the grand jury further charges. So it shows count 2, again, visual depictions, talks about interstate, foreign, and the minor. Count 3, count 4, count 5, count 6, count 7. So this document that I included also basically came out stating that they were going to ask for payment and money that would be due from him, and that they would have to forfeit stuff to them. and that they would look at his bank accounts and everything to check of, gross profits that he made, that he obtained because of the offense he committed, any property, anything used to commit or promote the offense that he did. So it talked about all that in the indictment. Again, this is the next page. If there, for some reason, they can't locate it, that he would have to reimburse it. So this one is the sealing of the documents. So there are some in here of the information that they found out about him and what they found out from him, and basically how they got to him, that is sealed. So I go in, and certain things that you click on, I can't open them. It just tells you that they're sealed and stuff as well. So this was as of December 21st of 22. So they're trying to keep it secret that he's being charged, all this kind of stuff. So this information was showing updated. So look at that time frame. We're all the way to October 25th of 24. And this is talking about a plea agreement. Since it's, and it talks, this will kill you. They knocked charges off of this. It's amazing. I mean, now here's my worry about some of it, because they talk about how, and it was saying that Kash Patel from the FBI said it too. He was like, these people are your neighbors, are people who have never committed crimes and stuff before. These are, people who don't have a record or anything like that. Not that some of them, because we saw one guy who did, but they're talking about these people. Now, remember, we just had not that long ago about 200 investigations that they had opened up, that they announced prior to all this going down. But so what they do in this, they talk to, pursuant to the terms of the plea agreement, since the defendant's offense level is 16 or greater, and the defendant qualifies for a 2-level decrease because he's looking to plead, right? And the defendant has assisted authorities in the investigation or prosecution of his own misconduct by timely notifying the United States attorney of his intention to plead guilty, thereby permitting the United States to avoid preparing for trial, permitting the government and the court to allocate their resources efficiently, blah, blah, blah. So this is them talking about the plea agreement, right? All right, so this was a shocker, and I had to go look at it a couple times to realize this. While he was waiting and they made charges against him, they released him. I couldn't even believe it. They released him for a while. So this document here was that the government wanted him to be finally arrested, right? He would be arrested and taken into custody. And so his attorney's filing that on December 21st of 22, when Mr. Hicks was charged in 7-count indictment with conspiracy to advertise child sexual abuse material, count 1, and distribution of child sexual abuse material, counts 2 through 7, on January 17th of 2023, Mr. Hicks was released from detention on pretrial conditions. He was caught with federal shit, and you let him out? You got to be kidding me. I mean, I'm going to tell you, if somebody pays attention to any of these laws, people need to. So it says further that then on July 31st of 2024, Mr. Hicks appeared before the court for a change of plea hearing pursuant to a plea agreement. He entered a plea agreement on guilty to count 1 of the indictment. So that means counts 2 through 7 were dropped, right? 2 through 7 was dropped. They let him out, and it gets worse. It gets worse, because when I first read that, I thought, I got to be reading something wrong. I mean, I went back through to make sure I was understanding all this. So, talks about the plea agreement, what type it's described, the federal rules of the criminal procedure. If the court, after receiving the preservation investigation report from the probation department, is unable to accept the government's dismissal of counts, blah, 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 blah. So it talks about that, because part of the agreement was it couldn't continue after that, right? So again, this one is on September 30th of 24. So it talks about the plea agreement and stuff more. So they filed a motion in August of 2024 of a statute of pretrial release. So in the middle paragraph here, it says, since the defendant's release from confinement on January 18th of 2023. So they found him in December of 2022. They released him on January 18th of 2023. He followed all terms and conditions of his release, including location monitoring. So he had to wear a thing on his leg, right? The defendant began full-time employment on March 9th of 2023 at Riverside Manufacturing, LLC, located in Fort Wayne. He was earning $18 per hour and works an average of 40 hours per week with some overtime. The defendant consistently provides verification of his employment and his location monitoring schedule. It's January of 2024. He voluntarily began attending personal therapy as needed at Phoenix Counseling in Fort Wayne. His urinalysis drug screens have been negative for the presence of illegal substances. He makes himself available for all office contacts and home inspections. This officer and other probation officers have had face-to-face contacts with the defendant at least once every 30 days since his release of pretrial supervision. The defendant continues to do what is expected of him, and there have been no documented instances of noncompliance. Well, shit, you're fixing to go to federal jail. I would hope not. Right? Give me a break. So he's in there in December. You let him out in damn January. He's going to work. He's living at his house in Fort Wayne. He's still around people. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, he's part of this huge operation. Oh my God, it just pisses me off. So it talks more about from his person that they don't think that he should be in prison, and talk about I just think it's like, wow, he's being good. Well, yeah, somebody's watching him, and there's only a 30-day requirement. 30-day check requirement. So on analysis consideration, they give outstanding track report of compliance. The court should find Mr. Hicks is neither a flight risk nor a danger to the community. Since his release from custody on January 18th of 2023, he has complied with all conditions and release beyond. Mr. Hicks not only met, but he thrived under the strictness conditions of supervision imposed by this court. In essence, he turned his life around. He's met all defined protocols and expectations. Because September of 24, he's turned his life around, everybody. So additionally, it says, in addition, beyond what was expected, including overtime, psychological evaluation and testing, and mental health treatment, he has been released from the court for 20 months, guys. This is significant, says his attorney. Well, no shit. For nearly 2 years, he has illustrated how he is not a flight risk. His actions speak louder than words. Above all, he wants to remain in the community until he's sentenced. He has shown a continuous desire to remain in the community, not flee from it. Additionally, Mr. Hicks has no criminal history that speaks of violence. Just the shit he looks at online, right? Only people's kids. So the strictest conditions of the pretrial supervision have been protected the public. Mr. Hicks has stepped up to the plate, following each and every one. Counsel respectfully submits that it simply cannot be said that after 20 months, Mr. Hicks is either likely to flee or pose a danger to others or the community within a couple of weeks of sentencing. He has shown by clear, convincing evidence that he is not going to flee or pose a threat. Second, the court also considers whether exponential circumstances justify Mr. Hicks' ongoing release pending sentencing. The statute does not define exceptional reasons. Arguably, the legislation history also provides little answers. So it talks about, more of the mumbo jumbo shit. So the farthest point here on fourth, his frequently overtime work allows him to bring himself up to date on his child support payments and to continue to financially support his autistic son. The arrange has been paid. Why does that say that? Oh, that says that's the way it's worded. The arrange has been paid in full. He has done everything within the power to financially support his ex-spouse and minor son. The compelling evidence before the court suggests that he has renounced all criminal activity and is taking his family financial responsibilities as seriously as a heart attack. Right? Are you freaking kidding me? So that shows that was served. So this document is dated November 26th of 24. Now, there was first a judgment that was placed, and then they amended it. So this is the amended judgment. And if you look at the bottom, it just says that they had to correct the assessment amount to $3,000. And that's because if you look here, that the defendant pled guilty to count 1 in the indictment on July 31st of 2024. So let's think about how long this federal case of this person being a high up manager of a dark website that is selling CSAM, that is advertising CSAM, that has children in it. When I go farther, you're going to see that it talks about that what it involves has infants, toddlers, violence, gore in this shit. but he's just great. He's just turned his life around. And, why would we put him in jail? Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? So he doesn't plead until July 31st of 2024, after being indicted in 2022, December. Again, odd timing. And that they put the date when the offense ended was March of 2022. So they must have been watching him, right? They usually put from the time frame. That doesn't mean he didn't start before 2022 or anything, but they watched him up till March of 2022. Usually when they find somebody like that, like they may find somebody has something that was sent to them, and then they figure out who sent that to them or who shared something with them, and then they go backwards to find it, and that's how they find others, whether they produced it or whether they shared it. So from January to March, they know what he was doing with the website. This isn't a guy who just had photos. These people are arrested for being a part of this dark website. So as you look here, his count, the only count he's charged for is count 1. If you look at the third arrow, and it shows the conspiracy to advertise and distribute child pornography and forfeiture. The defendant is sentenced as provided in page 2 through 9 in the judgment. The sentence is imposed pursuant to the following reason, Act of 1984, blah, blah, blah. So it says counts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the indictment are dismissed. Are dismissed. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple things. One, it's because the guy doesn't have any other criminal record, right? 2, it has to be because he's cooperating. And they've had him since 2022. And they even make the statement in some of this. So this talks about the imprisonment on November 26th of 2024. With the one count, he's sent to 16 years. And then after that, he has 10 years of required being monitored for 10 years after the 16 years. This is all his supervised release. I'm just showing you this document's part of it for his 10 years that are in there. He sat here and it I don't know, this stuff just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. The only good thing I would take from this would be if he cooperated. I think all of these led from one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And when we look at the timing of when all this is going down in 2022, that is in the middle of all kinds of people who were being busted for CSAM that I was sharing with you guys all over the place. And like I said, one leads to the other, to the other, to the other. That's why you usually see here's 3 or 4 arrests here. Here's another 3 or 4 arrests here. And then there's the difference between whether they get charged locally or whether they get charged federally. But these guys were using the internet and using the website. And I challenge you that in 2022, I just think it's an awful big coincidence that Keegan Kline could have been doing this. This is how some of these people were making their money. They didn't have jobs. They didn't have jobs sitting here doing it. Some of these people had to go, get employment. These were people that were hiding in plain sight. They never had any other criminal record. They never had anything else that was going on. Again, this is continuation of his director probation. This is the $3,000 that had to be paid. Now, I wanted you to see this. This is a forfeiture, that the defendant shall forfeit the interest in the following property to the United States. So look at the electronics that is specifically saying that's going to the government, right? So this is November of 2024. So you got hard drives, you've got computer desktops, a laptop, a different, look at the different storage devices and stuff that are on there, the hard drive, again, Morris USB drives, thumb drives, all of that, laptop. When they collect all of this, the thing is we go from Operation Grayskull usually to another operation. Just like the international CSAM ring that was here before. Again, I've done a show on that. If you haven't seen it, please go watch that. I break down all the people who got arrested from different countries and stuff from there and what happened and what they were doing. And I plan on finding out more for you guys about these others that were arrested. I just wanted to focus on that we have one of these people in Fort Wayne, Indiana, who was busted for this. And I'm going to tell you, it is going to set off an alarm for people who may have been sharing or know of him. Most of these people don't know of each other. That's why they even state that in the information. And, so this information, these hard drives, these computers are going to share what other people do. What does it do when they find these photos and images? They're going to turn around and they're going to identify victims. They'll be able to save victims and stuff from things. They'll find out who's doing that. Those are the automatic arrests that happen. That is something in the other show that I promoted on the community post about a show that's coming up that's talking about things with related to some stuff with Delphi and some people arrested. So prior to this, dealing with a potential motive. There's a lot in that show, and I can't wait to do that one. This one, again, this is the final order. Look at this. Final order issued January 10th of 25. So January of this year. Again, here's the list. And it shows that they've already notified the public about this being taken. And in this statement, it says that when they did the notification and within 60 days from the first date of the internet publication, that now they can, that nobody else has claimed anything so that they can take this property. So this is Samuel Hicks' location. He's in a federal prison in Memphis. His release date is for 2038. So this is what I looked up and found on that particular place. It is considered a low security federal correction institute, and it's adjacent to a minimum security detention place as well. So I shared this the other day because this also came out on July 23rd of 2025. And it is coming out because of the concern of the growth of it. I did a video that talked about 764 group, and what that meant, what the group was. It is a online violent pedophile group. They also have other things that they do. They promote violence and stuff for kids to do, like kids for school shootings, for any type of violence. They target young kids, girls and boys. They pretend to be kids online. They meet them in social apps and online gaming. They turn around, and once they start talking to them and convince them to send an image, then from that point it ends into sextortion and threatening. I'm going to tell your parents. I'm going to tell your family. I'm going to tell everybody else, and causing them to continue to send stuff to them. But these groups also like to make these kids self-harm, like cutting, carving stuff into themselves, degrading themselves, hurting animals, they'll involve their siblings, and some of them end goal is to even get these kids to commit suicide and do it online streaming. Well, the FBI did another public service announcement, but as I explained to you guys how the structure is set up for 764, these online pedophile groups, I shared with you that the groups are set up under what originated kind of like as the Order of Nine Angles. And that was like the main thing that they drew from. And under that is this massive umbrella that was called the COM, or the community. And if you have not watched that show that I did on that, please, please, please go watch that show. I know that show is kind of long. Watch it in a couple parts and stuff when you get a chance, because it explains the structure. It explains even the oddity of, having somebody use Roblox to kind of recreate the Delphi murders. It has information about how they're using this, different shooters who were tied to this group, everything that's going on with it. And I show the structure of the the community is like the big umbrella piece of it. And then all these groups are splinter groups underneath that umbrella of the or the community. So some of them are called 764. Some of them are called CVLT, which they call it the cult, but it's CVLT. There are many, many, many different names that these groups will spin off and create what their own name is going to be, but they all do the same thing, and it falls under the same umbrella. And they share the one thing they share in common is that they this pedophilia. And a lot of the people who are even in these groups are young men, young kids. They get them in the groups, but then they're abused and forced to do stuff in the groups and stuff as well. And they see this stuff online. And then, but there's also grown people that are in there and they participate in this type of stuff. So the concern with these groups that warning and stuff that came out is that it's growing, it's rising, and it's much of a bigger threat. So with this group, the COM, again, it shows here the same thing I showed you guys on that show, is short for the community. Primarily English speaking, although it is international. I should say this. These are global groups. These aren't like local, whatever. These are global people who have access to your kids. Your kids have a cell phone, they have access to them. Does your kids play games online? They have access to them. Does your kids sit here and go on different apps and things? They have access to them, no matter what the age and stuff is from that. So they sit here, and the network's members who are, like I said, are minors too, are engaged in criminal activities. They think there are thousands of people that are part of it. as current and recent members of the COM with varying levels of associated activity and criminal activity. So they conduct, members of the COM include, but it's not limited to, swatting. And that's them calling people to your house and pretending there's something urgent going on there and you get swatted, which is a hoax threat, extortion, sextortion of minors, production and distribution of child sexual abuse material, violent crime, various types of cyber crimes. The latter category of that include distribution or distributed denial of service attacks, subscriber identity models, swapping. So swapping is when somebody takes over your account, basically, online. Ransomware, intellectual property theft, extortion, cryptocurrency theft, and money laundering. And the activities vary. And there's, again, all the different comms that I went through. Like I went and talked to you about the one that was called the Web. They sat there and hacked stuff in Vegas and took stuff down in Vegas. So this is a big deal of this continuous of everything that they're going after. They're not limited to just one thing. So it has grown over the last 4 years, and it is continuing to growing. That's why they've warned it. So we've had 2 big warnings basically back to back that were of the 764, and now they're overall doing the full umbrella of the COM. If you want to know what the names of some of those groups are, please go watch my show of 764 that talks about it. I show the ones that I'm aware of that are all in there right now. It says that the COM also have demonstrated knowledge of the UK and US criminal justice system. They've known to intentionally recruit juveniles within the United States to perform criminal acts based on their misperception that juveniles cannot be pursued by the U.S. criminal justice system. So again, it talks about what their deployment is. I told you about the bomb threats. They've done that for schools and stuff. The video that I've been working on is going to show you about activity that I'm going to be able to show you that I believe the 764 or the COM was already active in the state of Indiana in 2015. This is before the information just came, that I was working on this video before this show that I just created right now for you about the guy who was arrested in Fort Wayne. But there were people going down that they were trying to get in 2017, that were activities in 2015, that were people already doing bomb threats and stuff to schools in Indiana that had to do with CSAM victims that they were trying to scare and threaten. I've got the information for that in that show. So I hope when I do that one that you will come and watch that. So all of this is really serious and dangerous stuff. You don't want your kids exposed to it, to be a part of it. And you definitely don't want your kids to sit here and end up a victim of it. So as you can tell in this, it says social media platforms and gaming sites, and how they get to the kids and stuff from that they range between ages 11 to 25. And they're mainly recruited off of gaming sites and social media platforms. So just going to check if there's anything I need to highlight in this. If you need to read this, I did put it in my community post as a warning. If you have a channel, please go share that community post. Parents need to be warned about this. And I know I'm not that big of a channel for people to know about and stuff. I'm not a monetized channel or anything like that. I only do it to share information out to people. So your likes and subscribing to my channel to get this information means a great deal to me. And so any help that you can give in helping me get this information out to people would be great. And especially if you have a channel and you can share that with more people, the more that we warn, the more people that we can protect from this stuff going on. So let's see. Now, in that page also that I shared with you does talk about how to report. And I've shared with you many times with if you need to report something, the best thing to do that you can do, and it doesn't matter if in the US, UK, or whatever, you can use the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. You can use the cybertipline.org or 1-800-THE-LOST. And either one, if you do cybertip.org, I did demonstrate on my last video how you file a report and what questions it asked. You can remain anonymous if you want to do that. If you know somebody who has CSAM, who shared CSAM, anybody who's talks to your kid strange, or your kid has come to you and said, I've done this and went out to somebody, I'm scared, I'm worried. Make sure you talk to your kids and let them know, they think they're in trouble. And that's why these people can hold it over their heads. You're going to be in trouble. I'm going to tell all your friends and your family, and this is going to get posted. And I want to emphasize as well that even if this is created as fake AI can be charged all now as the same as CSAM. So if somebody creates something on AI of your kid, that will still be charged as well. So you can also call in directly to the 1-800-THE-LOST and give them your information. Have as much information as you can, screen names, what type of social media sites they were on, that they were contacting you or your child on. And if they shared images and stuff, NetMec has a program called Take It Down. I also shared information about that Congress did pass a Take It Down Act. And the Take It Down Act basically requires that social media, when you notify them, has 48 hours now to remove those type of images from them. So you have to use their site to report it. You'll want to report it and stuff yourself, but Take It Down can help anything get removed. Now, you want to do that as soon as you possibly can, but have a conversation with your kids and let them know that tell them, be honest with them. Tell them there are bad people out there who pretend to be children. And if they don't know somebody personally, they should not be accepting anybody. And even and especially if that person's profile is friends with a bunch of their friends' profiles, well, that's what they do. They fish out there to see what kids they can make victims and then do what they can to begin to go through, torture them through all of this unnecessary issue of mental health and just, it's just awful. It's just awful for these poor kids. Not to mention the kids who are being filmed that if you believe are being child sex trafficked or you believe are being sexually abused, you want to report that as well. If your kid is in danger that somebody's trying to meet with them, you need to automatically be calling 911. And that's important and stuff as well. So the bottom of this page is important. Again, you can find it on community posts. I share a lot of this information. I've shared all the predators and stuff like that that are getting busted. Basically, when they get arrested, because you're not going to find them yet when you go and look at a site to see if this person's a registered sex offender. You know why? They just got arrested. And most of the time, they're getting a freaking plea down and they're not being charged what they initially got arrested and charged with, which are more serious crimes. So when I go and focus on these people, they are when they're first arrested and you hear about it. So that's why I do that too, because I've had many people who have said they didn't know that somebody was arrested and it was a friend of the family and their kids were around them. And we've got to be aware of this. We outnumber the good people, outnumber the bad people. And evil only wins when good people do nothing. So I need your help to please click that like button, subscribe. Please help share this information with people in regards to this. So if you have an internet crime, you can go to www.ic3.gov. That's directly how you report to the FBI. It has numbers for the field office. And then here's the information I was sharing with NetMech, 1-800-THE-LOST. And then you've got cybertip.org. So sorry about that, cybertip.org, with the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. And that will take you directly to start answering questions that you need from that. So I do hope that you can like and comment and subscribe. I'm not ignoring you, crowd out there. I see you. Kimberly, if you want to, you can also send me an email as Justice Served Daily. Spell it out as one word. So Justice Served with the D and then daily at gmail.com. And anybody. So if you want to send information, send a tip, need help, have questions or whatever, I have lots of times that family members are asking for assistance and help with stuff that are going on, or, you know, they find out that their child has been a victim of something. So let's see. I'm just reading some of the stuff. Okay. Well, I will tell you, I will continue to look into these additional people who are arrested. I will continue, as I always do, letting you know about these guys that are in there. The show I have coming up, I'd like to do it tomorrow. I'm not quite sure yet. I've got to check how that's going to all work out. But it will be the next show that I do. It would have been before this, but I suddenly had to work on this show to get the information out because of that announcement. And then suddenly telling us a person we knew of was arrested for this. So again, these were people who are running these websites, part of these websites, and like the FBI director said, never been arrested before, hiding in plain sight. And it's awful interesting, I think, in the timing of when he was found. And as these massive, we have had nearly, probably now, over 200 arrests in Indiana since Keegan Kline has been arrested. And I've kept track of all of those and watched who was arrested, what were they arrested for, where were they from, what was going on with that. And I think the next show that I do that shows you some information about things that were leading up, that talks about what I believe is Anthony Schott's motive. about some activity with Libby's phone that happened before she got to the bridge, the timing of that, and just my own unanswered questions that I think with the Delphi case as well. Because I really, and I can show in there, and I'll show it again because I've shown it many times, that the Delphi case, because of Anthony Schatz being exposed for that, has blown up the reports that are happening of cyber tips in the state of Indiana. And it more than doubled, and they are not going down. It is going up still to this point. And it goes up because we help educate other parents, other kids, and other people. And, you know, this guy being busted for what he did, I said to all of you that I thought the dark web was operating again in Indiana, that it had before, that a person had, two people were server people that were running the other one before and were part of that network that was going on. I'm going to talk about all the other massive arrests that had up in from 2015 leading up to Delphi, and then some Delphi stuff that I think has that connection. So I appreciate all of you guys being out there. Jinx, Mama Bear, thank you for modding for me. I thank everybody for in there. And the way you can show me your love is by sitting here and hitting that like button, hit the subscribe button, go check out the community posts to help keep yourself informed. If you have a channel, please share some of those out there as well. Recently, we had two people that were arrested, and they have ongoing investigations on them, thinking they may have hurt other people. One was a former Kokomo police officer who was picking up runaway, sexually assaulted her, and they're still investigating if there's anything else. And one was a behavioral therapist who worked with autistic children. And he was busted, though, and was charged because he was caught in a video. I hate to say it, but it's what it was caught in a video basically sexually assaulting an infant. So how do you think, with all of this info that we find out of this dark web being busted now and here, isn't connected to that? How do you think they found him? He probably had stuff that was on that dark web that was sent. They identify him, and that's how they get him. But the officers are also asking for anybody, anybody at all that has that information, or they want people to check and see if their kid could have been a victim. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate all of you. Kimberly, Mustang 65, everybody out there. I really appreciate all of you being in here. I'll be frank, just everybody. And sorry if I missed you. I usually end up talking and yapping, covering that and reading stuff to you so much. But I wanted to share that with you. I got access to those court documents, and I thought you'd like to see, again, proving the timeline. They found this guy in December 22. He didn't get freaking charged. Look how long that took. He didn't plead guilty to 2024. Then they sat here and they didn't have his sentence and stuff till come. And then they finally they're finally accessing all of his stuff, all of his assets in January 2025. The good news is we're in July of 2025. And I guarantee you they're going through that stuff, and more people will be arrested. They're going down. Good outnumber the bad. We got to keep doing stuff, informing stuff, and keeping people's kids safe. So again, thank you very much for being here. And thank you for making sure that justice is served daily. See you guys later. Bye.